So yesterday, excuse me, someone fell here. So yesterday, we discussed what exactly was this idea of the holy temple and the tabernacle. Why is it so important in Judaism? Why is it even there? Right? I mean, is that Judaism? I thought Judaism worshiped God. How are you building a building? And that's where God is, in a building. He's found in a building. What's going on? So the Rebbe says, this is only part of the main topic of what we're talking about over here this week, and the main question, at least, that we're dealing with, and that is, why is it that when God told Moses to order the people to bring free donations to the holy temple, to the tabernacle, so God said, these are the ingredients that you have to bring. You can't just bring whatever you want. There are certain ingredients, 15 ingredients, 15 things that you have to bring, which are the constituent parts of the tabernacle. And they are gold and silver and copper and etc. And that's 15 things. So the Rebbe asked the question, why does it start with gold? Gold was not the most precious of the things that were these diamonds. Talk about them first. Precious stones. They also were not the most common. Copper was most common. So why begin with gold? That was his question. So then the Rebbe said, by the way, question, why in the world did they have to build this tabernacle anyway? What's the whole purpose of a tabernacle? What's this got to do with Judaism? A building. God is in a building. I thought the message of Judaism is that God is everywhere. What is the message of Judaism anyway? So the Rebbe says the whole message of Judaism is that God is creating the world, and the world is very important to God, and that there are ways that we can reveal God's presence in the world. And what does that mean? When God is revealed in the world becomes more real. The world becomes more real. The world becomes more, how do you say, blessed? That's called blessed. You see, and you feel that everything in the world is a miracle, is a gift. It's a surprise. Every instant is a new experience, a new appreciation of this miracle, which is called creation, that God is creating everything all the time, and everything has been created for a purpose. That's what it means when God is revealed here. That's the whole idea of the Holy Temple, to put true, absolute meaning and value into every instant of life, every place in the world, every human being, etc. That's what it means. We want to reveal God's presence here. And that was done through the Holy Temple, because the Holy Temple was in the world. There was a place in the world. That's what Moshiach is going to do. Why Moshiach will bring the third temple. And essentially, the third temple will bring about that no one in the world will think about going to heaven. Going to heaven will be like cheap. I mean, maybe there will be people, but the main thing will be this world, serving God in this world, to the point there won't even be death. No one's going to go to heaven. Let's see, there'll be the raising of the dead, and heaven will be empty. I don't know what's going to be up there. According to this, now we can understand why gold was the first of the things in the temple. Why in the tabernacle? Why was gold the first material that God requested that Moses should demand from the people, or should request from the people? Why gold? When the Torah, when God in the Torah, Mona, he enumerated at the Nadavot the gifts Yehudi that a Jew has to bring to the tabernacle. The first thing that he said is bring gold. Why gold? Gold was not the most valuable thing. It was not the most common thing. Why pick gold? This indicates lo chashivuto, not just the importance of gold on its own, without connection to the temple or the tabernacle. This expresses chashivuto, the importance, umalato, and the highness of every Jew. A Jew, Rishon b'mayla, that the most important of a Jew's possessions is gold. What does it mean, gold? Gold is the most expensive of the metals. Shekain, also Metzias, also the same thing is not just the Jew's possessions, but every Jew himself. That every Jew after the Torah was given, even when a Jew is below in this world, that in this world a Jewish person has to be like everybody else. You have to have a house, you have to have money, you have to have silver and gold and copper. And also, and these things are more in quantity than gold. Gold is a rarer, more rare. As I then the kol rosh who ashir be'etzim. If so, to show that every Jew, since the giving of the Torah, that every Jew is gold. Remember, we asked yesterday the question: how can, okay, you want to build a house to God, and the donations have to be with the proper intention. So how can you demand that everybody bring these gifts, women, children? So because after the giving of the Torah, every Jew became gold. At the giving of the Torah, every Jew suddenly became Ben Melech, the son of the king. And even more, every Jew became a king. Shemetziuto, that the whole existence of every Jew, Hadavar hachi yakar, is the most expensive common thing, gold. And it says that gold is the first letters of the initials, Ze Hanoten Bari, giving charity when you are healthy. Ze Hanoten Bari. Hanoten, that a Jew gives to others, also as he is below, who betachlit hashlemut, when he's completely healthy, begashmit uruchnev, spiritually and physically. Charity. Charity is the essence of man. Charity means giving to others. That's why we are here. Every human being is here to improve the world. It has to be according to the Torah. But improving the world, that's what every human, that of course can be also, how do you say, twisted and derailed. Right? The purpose of communism was supposed to be to improve the whole world. So everybody inside, everyone inside, Jews and non-Jews, but especially Jews, have an urge to fix the world up. Everybody knows somewhere inside that they're here to do something to make the world a better place. That's what's called meaning. Everyone knows that their life has a meaning. We're here we are just a means to something else. Everyone knows, everyone feels it. Okay, someone, if the Torah doesn't present or convince everyone that their purpose is every moment of your life to be positive and live according to the Torah, then there can come along Marx or Freud or Hitler or somebody else, and they can convince them, no, you have a feeling you have to change the world, right? Well, this is how you do it, right? The Communist Manifesto or the whatever, this religion, that religion. Then there's all the religions say, your purpose is not to go to fix up the world. The purpose is to get out of the world, go to heaven. But nevertheless, everybody feels they have some sort of a purpose. It says the Rebbe, when the Torah was given to the Jewish people understood that their purpose is to improve the whole entire world according to the manufacturer's instructions, God. And therefore, at that point, God chose the Jews to do this. No other nation. That's what it means to chose the Jews, to bring blessing and order and meaning into the entire world. And this was given, entrusted to every Jew. And it was not just externally, there was this internally. That every Jew not only has a direction from outside, he has an urge from the inside to do this. Every Jew. That's what we just finished learning. That's what's called Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice. Like I say, you can have self-sacrifice for the wrong things. I mean, it was quite amazing. I'm really amazed. You see, ever see the Nazi soldiers, right? When they attacked Russia. So it got cold. They were freezing. They didn't have the proper clothes. They didn't care. They were willing to freeze to death. They were willing to fight to the end, right? They didn't care about themselves. They had the goal of a greater Germany or whatever their crooked, weird goal was. Right? But nevertheless, they had a goal and they were willing to be self-sacrificing for this goal. Huh? The same thing with communist Russia, communist China, that the government there killed tens of millions of people. And people didn't care. They said that this is all for the good. It's the goal. There's going to be a goal, right? And so Judaism comes and says, okay, it's ingrained in every human being that we're here in order to devote ourselves to some sort of a goal, some sort of a purpose. Well, God creates everybody and creates everyone with this intrinsic feeling. So let's do what God wants. Let's use it for what God wants. That's the purpose of the Jews. Therefore, every Jew is zeh noten bari, giving while you are healthy. And even more, nosav lakach, in addition to that, that's zahav, gold. And nosav l'zeh, in addition to the hakdama, excuse me, that making gold come first. This expresses the highness, the excellence, and the importance of every Jew and the Jews in general, but this is also relevant to the idea of asali mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, making a holy house itself. Shekena koach lapo, because the ability to bring about asali mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, make me a holy temple, and I will dwell within you. How can we make God in the world? This is by means of the Jews. The Jews have been chosen to make the world into a blessed, meaningful place, the physical world, by means of the temple. Shagan biyota lamata, the Jew, even when he's in the world, nevertheless, the Jew is connected to the upper worlds. And that's the level of gold giving to while you are healthy. Healthy means connected to God. Kisha Meduba, like it is spoken, rock only when we were speaking only in relation to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle, and in a way that the Jewish people, they donated to the tabernacle. As then, Yesh L'Kesef and Nechoshet, then there is silver and copper. In some ways, they're more important than gold. Why? If we're talking about just the building itself, then there was more silver and more copper used in the actual building. There was more quantity, a greater quantity of silver and copper used in the tabernacle. But when we're talking about the Jewish people, when we're talking about Moses commanding the Jewish people, Sha'osim, at the Mishkan, that they're the ones that have to make this tabernacle. So by them, the first thing and the most important is gold. Why? Because a Jew, even when he is in this physical world, he is, first of all, has to remember that he's gold. Therefore, his power, and that gives him the power to make a tabernacle. And we can also say that this is the reason that what the Jewish people had so much gold and silver they took out of Egypt. It comes from the quality of the Jews. Because a Jew in his essence should be rich spiritually like gold. And so automatically, that comes also from this richness physically, a lot of physical gold. There's enough money in the world to go around to everybody. The idea of the Jewish people is supposed to be to give. The more money that is given to the Jewish people, the more they can give. That's ideal. Again, I think we said this a lot of times, but that was the big fault of communism to this very day. Right? The idea, this very day. That there's no charity. The government takes care of, ideally, the government takes care of everybody. Everyone is provided for. No one has to give charity to anybody else. You don't have to be, every person works for the all the, how do you say, for everybody else, but according to the standards of the government. No one has to give anything to anyone else of their own, because nobody owns anything. Everything is given to you from country. They used to say in Russia, everyone in Russia, it ended up that everyone in Russia, they said everyone in Russia is a thief except for Stalin, because he owns everything. Everything he can't steal because everything belongs to him. It was a joke. I get a bitter joke. But nevertheless, it was the truth. And even though the communism is very appealing, because there's people that get rich and they misuse the poor people. They don't give charity, and that's not right. That's improper. But the way to fix it up is not to make everybody poor. And the only person that has money is the government, and they do so. There's no charity. There's no kindness. There's no love. They're just bodies. It says the whole essence of the Jewish people is gold. Zen oten bari, giving when you are rich. Ubamela, therefore, that comes from this also physical richness. According to this, Yumtak, now it's even more understandable. This, that in Parshas Vayakel, this is going to be in 3 weeks. Look at in the book of Exodus. So it talks about the Jewish people in the beginning. The Jewish people are in exile, and then it talks about the Jewish people getting out of exile, and then it talks about the Jewish people receiving the Torah. Right, that's Yitro, and then it talks about the tabernacle. Then it talks about, and there's 4 chapters in the Torah that talk about the building of the tabernacle. 4 chapters. 4 chapters. The first 2 talk about what Moses commanded the people to bring. The first, and then there's the story of the how do you say, the debacle. I always thought it was debacle, the fiasco of the golden calf. And then after that, there's the last 2 talk about the tabernacle, the actual building. So there's 2 chapters. This one and next week are talking about the ingredients that were requested from the Jewish people to bring, or what they had to bring for the tabernacle and for the garments of the priests. And it's talking about the request. And the last 2 are talking about the Jewish people actually did it. They filled the request. Why there had to be so many, that we'll talk about another time. So this is Truma and Tetzaveh. That talks about the request of God, what the Jewish people should bring. And Vayakel Pekudi is talking about when they actually brought it. Bo in it talks about Nineveh. The last 2 chapters of the book of Exodus are talking about how the Jewish people actually brought, Bepoil, these donations to the tabernacle. So Mechaleket the Torah divides the gifts, the donations to the tabernacle into gold separately from silver and copper. And it puts it even into 2 separate sentences in Vayakel. Vayavo anashim al anashim kol nedivei lev yaviu chach v'nezer v'kli zahav. Says the men, the women brought more than the men, and they brought all these jewelry of gold. And that was the women. And the men, it says they also brought gold. That's 1 sentence. Then 2 sentences later, it talks about that everyone brought, all the people also brought silver and copper. Why separate them? And these two Torah portions this week and next week, they don't separate. It says gold and silver and copper. When it comes to actually bringing it, this is going to be another 3 weeks. It says that they brought gold. The women brought gold and more gold than the men. And then 2 sentences later, it talks about silver and copper. According to the Ramban, Rabbi Moses ben Nachman, he lived like 100 years after Maimonides. He explains that because it mentioned the name of the women, the women don't have as much silver and copper. Women only had gold. So therefore, gold is a better quality of, it's more precious metal than silver or copper. Vesharna Davot. Therefore, Zav shows on the completion of all of the Jewish people. So it's the Ramban explains that why does it separate the men from the women? Because the women have more gold. They had more, and you say, jewelry. And the jewelry came from, well, and why does it separate gold from the other 2 metals? Because gold is special. Gold, men and women, says even by the women that they didn't have it, nevertheless, gold was special. Gold, everyone agrees gold is special. And so if so, we see that gold has a special importance, not only a special importance that it's worth more, it's in a different category than everything else, gold. According to what we said, therefore, now we're saying that since the Jewish people were at Mount Sinai, that each one became gold. Gold means they became rich, and they want to give that richness. Zan notain bari. He gives when he is rich. And that's the essence of the Jewish people. And that's why gold was first when God asked the Jewish people to bring gifts for the tabernacle, because the whole thing of the tabernacle was to reveal how important this physical world is. And the main element in this physical world is the Jewish people giving. I hope he said, according to this, now we can also understand the connection to this month of Adar. That's today. Today is Rosh Chodesh Adar, right? According to the Gemara, the Talmud, it says the month of Adar is a lucky month. It says it's a healthy mazal. That's the month of Adar. On this, we can ask a question. Chazal, the rabbis, Hari Omer, they say, in mazal Israel, the Jewish people don't have mazal. The Jewish people aren't under the stars. The mazal is, generally speaking, the influence of the stars. The stars. Now, a Jew is not supposed to tell the future. He's not supposed to live in the future based on any signs that they do now. You're not supposed to base your life on future, even though that, astrology has a lot of truth to it. And there's some people that they read, tea leaves and crystal balls and all these things. And there's a certain amount of accuracy to these things. Accuracy. But a Jew is not supposed to live in the future according to that. The zodiac, read every day your daily zodiac, whatever it is. Astrology for the day. Today is a good day to buy things. Today, it could be that it really is a good day, but you're not supposed to learn from these things. You're supposed to trust God. You're supposed to trust God and do things in a normal, regular way. You can take advice from people, etc. Not from people that consult the stars for the future. On the other hand, the stars definitely do have a big influence on the world. But the Jews are not under that. The Jews can go above that. The Jews are above nature, which you see clearly. I mean, the Jews, since Abraham, but especially since the destruction of the temple, the Jews have been scattered all over the world, and everybody hates them, right? There's been times where there's been less hatred, more hatred, but it's just a recurring theme in world history hating the Jews, right? Everybody's hated the Jews. They've been expelled from England, expelled from France, expelled from Italy, they've expelled from Portugal, from Spain, expelled. Jews have been expelled. Now, the hating the Jews is okay. The United Nations, they don't hate the Jews, they hate the Zionists, they hate this, they hate the Jews. Come on and say they don't hate the Jews. The Jews hate the Jews, right? There's Jews for the Hamas, the Jews hating Jews is somehow or ingrained. It's like how do you say, a human pastime. Hate the Jews. How do the Jews exist for so long? I mean, all these countries have big armies or whatever it is. So it says, because in Mazel Israel, the Jewish people aren't under the laws of nature. So therefore, it doesn't sort of make any sense when it says that but the month of Adar, that's a lucky, it's a Mazel Dika month. It's a good Mazel for the Jewish people. I thought the Jewish people didn't care about whether it's good or bad. So it says, in Mazel Yisrael, there's no Mazel for the Jewish people. How can you say, but Adar is a good Mazel, and the other months, Av is not a good Mazel? It's a contradiction in one sentence. A second ago, you said they don't have any Mazel, and now you're saying, but this month is a good. At first glance, maybe we can say, according to the words of Rashi, Ein Mazel Yisrael, what it means that there is no Mazel for the Jewish people, Al Yadei Tefillah, by means of prayer, and by means of the merits of the Jewish people, we can change our Mazel to good. In other words, the Jewish people are under the laws of nature until they pray. And when they pray, they change it. I know, Shalagabi, Shalabnei Yisrael, that the Jewish people, they do have a Mazel. But they have a greater power, which that greater power is prayer, or they have special merits. They did some special thing. You do a commandment or something, or you give charity. Yochel, you can change your mazel to good. That's what Rashi says. Says the Rebbe, okay, I mean, Rashi is very valid what he says, but on the other hand, he's not the only opinion. In Ein Zabir, this is not a sufficient explanation that it says the month of Adar is a healthy, lucky month for the Jews. What does that mean? That the Jews don't have to do anything. Pirush, what does it mean? It means lo sh'al yedei koach sheni, not that the Jews have to do something in order to change their mazel, in order to what, but it means that the mazel is good. It doesn't have to be changed. Elisha mazel mitzaratzmo, the mazel, the luck of the month is good. I thought the Jewish people weren't. I mean, they are under mazel. They're not under mazel. We don't understand what's going on. So it says, Yesh Lomar, we can say the explanation is like this. So to speak, what is it saying? Rashi says you can change it. But the Gemara says you don't have to change the month of Adar. You don't have to change anything. It's already good. says the Rebbe, maybe we can explain like this. The Etzem, essentially, because of the source of the Jewish people, the source of the essence of a Jew, the Jewish people are not, have nothing to do with the world. They are not under the mazel or anything else. The Jewish people are only connected to the Creator. Like it says, Al derech hagoyim al tilmadu. My eyes are, something's happening to my eyes. Al derech hagoyim, the ways of the non-Jews, you should not learn. But oto tashamayim, and from the signs of heaven, al tachat, to the below, ki yachtu agoyim mehema, because the Jewish people, the non-Jews, they they stray because of the non-Jews. What is this? Because of the stars in the sky. But that's in Jeremiah says. What's the problem? The problem with the stars and all these things, they are accurate, but they're only accurate, let's say, 90% of the time, 98% of the time. But not always. And that little 2%, that right, that destroys them. That destroys them. The chirush shel Yehudi, the novelty of a Jew, who is yoter mizeh, even more. Shafilu kafi shehu. I remember that I saw a book. I mean, this is a parenthetical thing, but I remember I saw there was a book. This was a long time ago. Astrology Today. It's a magazine, I think, and it explained how that Hitler may his name be blotted out forever, that he had a whole staff of astrologers. The Germans were really big on the occult and the spiritual stuff and all this stuff. They were really big at that. and he had a whole staff of astrologers that would tell him what to do. And 90% of the time they were right. And regarding Normandy, when the astrologers told him that the attack was not going to come, at least that's what it said in the article, that it wasn't going to come in Normandy, it was going to come somewhere else, something like that, and it was a mistake. So the question is, some people say maybe there was a spy there, and maybe, but in any case, the fact of the matter is that astrology is, yes, accurate, but not 100% accurate. And because it's not really coming from God. It's one of those things that, if you go against God, you succeed. One big way to become successful is to go against the Jews. If you go against the Jews, you'll be successful. It's almost guaranteed. Not for long, but you'll be shot up to the top. Opposing the Jews, you feel great, right? So, but not for long. It's the same thing. The stars, the sky. It's all going not necessarily with the Jews, against the Jews, but the Jews can go above that. It says, well, not the month of Adar. The month of Adar, that's a month that's for the Jews. It says, what do you mean for or after? I thought that the Jews aren't influenced at all by the stars. What does it mean? It says the novelty of a Jew is more, even when a Jew is below in the world, in the physical world, and his body is similar to everybody else's. Also here, a Jew in the physical world is not connected to the mazel. The essence of the Jewish souls, we can understand. That's connected to the Creator. It's got nothing to do with anything in the creation. But what about the Jews in the world? The main thing is the world. It says that's the big novelty. Because every Jew has a Jewish soul, so that Jewish soul also affects his day-to-day life, and that also is not connected to the stars. It's not under any physical, spiritual influences. Looking, therefore, even though there is the power of a Jew by means of prayer or merits, whatever, to change his future, his, what do they call it? His mazal. There's a good word for it. His fortune to good. But all of this is only by his higher powers, not the mazel on its own. The novelty of the month of Adar is even more that even as a Jew is found in this physical world, and in his essence Judaism, as he is below, connected to things in the world, he has a business, he has a wife, he has a family, he has friends, he has money, the problems. Nevertheless, he's found in this world. If you have any sort, let's say, for instance, an altercation, with a non-Jew, ad the Chodesh Av, if it comes in the month of Av, to the degree that if this court case or whatever is altercation, this argument with a Jew, it will occur in the month of Av. You have to do everything you can to get rid of it, to get rid of it. True that your prayers and your good deeds can change even the month of Av, which is a bad month for the Jews. It can change it to good. It could. But if you can, don't rely on the prayers and things like that. Try to move it to the month of Adar. Because the month of Adar is a month where you don't have to try to change the spiritual influence. It's good for the Jews, even in the physical world. Even when the month of Adar comes in, then the mazel on its own is healthy. Even to the point where it says, even though the Jew doesn't feel it, he doesn't know anything about it, but the month of Av, all of a sudden, everything is changing around. Everything is changing around. The Yesh Lahosifim, we can also add on, according to the inner meaning, what? That says, Ein mazel Yisrael, there is no mazel, there is no spiritual, how do you say, forces which affect the Jewish people. We can say, not that there is none, that the mazel, the spiritual forces which affect the Jewish people are ayin, the ability of the Jewish people to make themselves into nothing, to surrender themselves to God. That ayin, the ability of a Jew to surrender himself to the truth, that's the mazel of the Jewish people. Hachirish b'davar, the novelty is, it's not only above the Jewish people in their source that God keeps us, the identity of Jewish people will always be here, but even in individuals, the level of ayin will drip down. Mazel means it will drip down and come down into the physical world. Simple language, the month of Adar is a month when it's easier for a Jew to feel he's a Jew. Shagam kafishi Yehudi, even as a Jew is found in this physical world, which the world is ruled by spiritual forces and by the stars and etc. The Isle Din Nachri, and there is a non-Jew which takes him to court, the United Nations or whatever that is, but nevertheless the mazel is ayin. It is total surrender to the creator of the universe. God will do it. He'll take care of it for us. Like we said before, Shiratzona, that the inner will of every Jew is to do what God wants. Until this is expressed, even in Bari Mazli, the world itself, the stars, the spiritual forces which affect the world, they affect the Jewish people for good. And we'll be able to see it in a physical way. And this is the essence of every Jew. I think I told you this before. In Israel now, there's a whole thing, also in the world, but a lot of Jews, right, are going like and open against Judaism, but they don't say it's against Judaism. It's against Zionism. Against Zionism. I'm also against Zionism, but I don't use it as an excuse to hate people, right? The idea is a terrible idea. The idea doesn't work, but that doesn't mean that the people that do it are bad. So there's a lot of Jews that say no, it's bad, and and from that it comes out it's not so big of a line to say Zionism is obviously a Jewish thing, that all the Jews are bad. So this one woman or whatever, she wrote to me, and she's raving and ranting against God, against the Torah, and she says, probably you'll say I'm a self-hating Jew. So I said, exactly the opposite. You have more connection to Judaism than I do. And I'll tell you the proof. I'll show you the proof. If someone comes to you, let's say me, I'm a rabbi, and I say, maybe you're not Jewish, right? What do you say? Who are you to tell me that I'm Jewish? Who are you? You're better than me. I'm just as Jewish as you. See, if someone would say to me, Rabbi, maybe you're not Jewish, I'd say, okay, you can say whatever you want. I don't get excited. And you get excited. Why? Because your Jewish soul is boiling inside of you. It's more important to you than it's important to me. So maybe you're right. That was the end of the conversation. In other words, inside of every Jew is really this feel, if they know that they're Jewish, is boiling, is active, deep down, this essence of the Jew, what the Jew is. Says the Rebbe, but that's wonderful, but that's not good enough. The purpose of a Jew is not just that he should be Jewish in the essence of his soul and his heart, is even in the physical world. And in the month of Adar, it's easier. And the whole world becomes more conducive to the message of Judaism, that God loves the world. And the world is good, and every human being is good, made in the image of God. Every human being. The month of Adar is a month where it's easier to reveal this, and everyone will know that that's what the Jewish people were chosen for all along, to tell the whole world that the world is good. Don't think about heaven. Man is good. Don't think about I'm a sinner. I got to get saved of this, right? And that God is good. He creates all this wonderful good world with all these good people in it. That's the month of Adar. Happy month. Okay, now let's